we're on pace right now to do a little over 40. Not exactly sure where we'll end, but we've already broke 40, and we have like tomorrow and Monday for sales calls. So, and all of that is like, that's all SaaS and UpHex, new users.
All right, what's up, everybody? I'm here with Trevor Briggs, my brother from another mother, doing the SaaS model. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that you guys are doing with UpHex, but let me just, so I've known about, like, I've known your name. I'm very involved in the group, so I see names floating around when people are engaging. Then I'm like, oh, take note. So I've seen you and your sister, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've seen you guys in the group for a while, but I was really, and I obviously love saying this for my own selfish reasons, but I was really just super inspired when and I have it right here. I'll post it up. I'll put it up on the screen, but super inspired when back at the end of the year. So this is like December 30th. So was that New Year's? Is that New Year's Eve?
Yeah, it was around that time.
Okay. You posted, hey, I just wanted to give a huge win to UpHex. This month we closed over 20K in cash for new GHL plus UpHex customers. October and November was full of trial and error, which I want to talk a little bit about. Price points, offers, figuring it out, all that kind of stuff. Found our footing in December, and we're really pumped for this upcoming year. So that was in December, and I got a bunch of questions, but I do want to start out with you. We were just talking. That was December. Where are you at in the month of January? It's January 26th right now. So where you did 20,000 in December, what are you going to do in January?
Yeah, so we're on pace right now to do a little over 40. Not exactly sure where we'll end, but we've already broke 40, and we have like tomorrow and Monday for sales calls. So, and all of that is like, that's all SaaS and UpHex, new users.
Dude, I love it. So anyway, so that's kind of like the framework for this. When people watch this, what I really want them to come away with was, what you were doing before, how you transitioned, and what you're doing now. So before we get too crazy, how long have you been doing this?
So this specific model we've been doing since November.
Okay, yeah. So
but I've been doing agency for a year, about a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay, awesome. And so were you just doing traditional SMMA, or what were you doing?
Yeah, so we were doing, so I was doing traditional SMMA, and then we were doing a little bit of high ticket, so like some coaching consulting mixed with that. And then we got, I think it was like the overwhelm of like, okay, to scale this gets really difficult, because a lot of us reliant on my knowledge, my business partner's knowledge, and it just didn't feel like that's what we wanted to do. I actually had got UpHex, like, I don't know when I signed up. It was probably February or March of this past year.
Oh, really?
But I just never touched it. I think I got on there, I built a template or something, and then I was like, man, like, I feel like I can use this, but I just wasn't quite sure. And when we hit that point, in October-ish, where we're like, yeah, like, we could keep doing this, but is this what we really want to do? It's like, let's think about UpHex. And so we started building out offers and things like that. But that's what we were doing up until this point. And it was fine. Like, we're making decent money. But even this month alone is our highest month since doing it. And we're doing it in this new model versus the old model.
Dude, that's awesome. So transitioning from the SMMA model over to this SaaS model, what was that process like? And you talked a little bit about it, but what was that process like in terms of going out to existing customers and saying, hey, we're doing this now, or going out and finding brand new cold contacts? How did you maneuver that?
Yeah, so we kind of, it was one of those things where you're like, either we're going to do this or we're not going to do this. And we kind of like burnt all ships from what we were doing previously to say, like, this is what we're going to commit to. And so it was, when we first started, I think sometimes when you don't know the value of something, you feel like you have to stack 10 things around it to make it seem more valuable. And so when we first did it, I think our offer was $97 for a month of UpHex and SaaS, and we would do all their social posting. So we were like, it was just going like that, we're going to offer all of these things. And we did, I think we signed 65 people up on that.
Oh, wow.
Which was amazing. I mean, that was a really, and we had a list, and we had actually just spoke at a conference in our niche. So it was kind of an accumulation of those things, but every piece of our business broke. Like, it was, I think we retained like 4 of those clients from doing that, because it was like, we're trying to do their social posting. And like, I think it was right when High Level had rolled out the whole social posting thing. So there was just 50 glitches on that, which is fine. We should have known that. But yeah, that just didn't really, that offer itself was like, man, at the end of the day, the only thing people really care about is making more money. Like, they need leads and they need more income coming into their business. If they don't have those things, then like us posting 30 times for them on social media to their 6 followers is serving no purpose. If we can just get them to focus on this one thing, which is paid lead gen and getting more clients that way, then I think we would be more successful. And so we kind of transitioned into a 2-week free model. So for 14 days free, and then we would sell a month or a 3-month upfront. And so that's what we're doing now. But we pretty much we really have not anything that we did before. So the 2 years of agency work and all of the stuff that we had done before, like, had nothing to do with what we've done now. Because like I said, we might have 2 or 3 clients from that. But the other stuff is just from when we decided, like, this is the route we're going, and the growth has been just from that alone, which is pretty cool to see. Because it's almost, I know some people that had 200 people in my agency, and now we switched over. We had nothing when we first switched over to it.
I want to go back real quick to the 97, when you were selling the $97 offer. How were you selling that? Like, person to person? How did you sell it?
So we did a list. So we had a list, and then we would have a landing page with a little VSL. And then we had a Facebook group. We had a couple of just different, that was pretty much all organic. At the conference I think we signed like 30 something people up just from that, from speaking at that conference. So mostly organic side, straight to VSL.
Okay. So you didn't have to like waste a whole bunch of time, like talking to people one-on-one.
No, but it ended up causing that, because people are like, well, I need to jump on a call. I don't understand this. I don't understand that.
That's a good point.
And we try to automate the whole onboarding process, which I know some people have done, but for us, the complete automation of the system has not been effective. As we switch to at least the intro onboarding call to like explain things, launch their first ad with them, has been kind of the sweet spot for us.
Yeah. It's interesting, because when we launched UpHex to my own agency, it was a shell of what it is today. We actually, at that time, we were executing the automation through a chat widget. So you click on the chat widget, it would pop.
I saw a video of that the other day.
Yeah, it was super ganky, but we had to start somewhere. And I remember the first time, actually, when we had one of our users do it live, click, and it actually went. I was like, oh my gosh, she just launched her own ad without me or my team doing it. So it was pretty cool. But when we launched that offer, we did ours for $297. And I think the first webinar we did, I want to say we got 50 something, like maybe 57. That might not be right, but it's, we got a lot. And when I saw that many people coming, I'm like, oh, dude, do you see this? Because we had our own SMMA model too. And there was all this, we're thinking, well, we're making this. I think we had, 20 to 25 clients. We're making this in the agency. What are we going to do? So I guess just a pro tip, what we did was we excluded anybody on our current client list. And when we promoted the webinar, we made sure they were not on that list, because we didn't know.
Yeah.
And then when we tested it, we're like, okay, we're just like you. We went all in. And then we went from, that first 57, whatever it is, to over the next, I say 2.5 months. It might've been less than that, but it doesn't matter. But 2.5 months, we went to 127 agency clients. Now, I'd never had over 100 clients ever in my agency. And so I didn't know what I didn't know. And so to you, our retention was not great, mostly because our back-end operation was not built to service that many people. Even though they're doing the ads themselves, they have questions. Adopting a new platform is not the easiest thing. So we've learned a lot over time doing that. Getting money up front is part of it, but also just streamlining the things that can be automated, but then just giving awareness to the things that cannot. Right. So I just wanted to touch on your $97. What happened if people are watching, that could happen to them too. I see a lot of people, whether they're in the high level group or even in the UpHex group, and they're talking about, well, we're going to fully automate this and that and this and the other. And it's like, maybe people smarter than me can do it. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you should prepare to have a hybrid model,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Because I think it gets really difficult to, from a client standpoint, to trust you and like just follow the things that, because for it's nice because if they log into high level, right? They log in, they have UpHex and no one's spoken to them about anything. That's overwhelming. Because
Yeah.
if for us as agency owners and like people that have been doing this for years, like we're like, oh, this is the easiest software ever. Like it does everything we need. But for a new person, like
Yeah.
that's a lot. And so being able to do the in-person where it's like, hey, if you only learn 3 things, these are the 3 things I need you to do for the next month. And
Yeah.
like conversations, opportunities, and running your ads. Like if you can handle those things, then you're gonna be okay. And I think getting that human interaction allows for that versus I think when you go automated, at least for us, as people start digging into the things that really don't matter, right? Like they
Yeah.
at the time of the time of them go like joining you, they just aren't that important. And so just being able to kind of take the focus, they trust you, they know you, they like you, and now you can kind of hone them in on, hey, this is where you need to be, not these 15 other different things that are going on.
Yeah. You kind of glanced over your current offer, and I want to just touch on this for a minute. Adam Lucky, who you've become friends with, posted in our group this past week, I think just this week, a video on some conversations you guys had, and it was really helpful. And helpful in a way to where even if you modeled or copied what you guys are doing, it's not going to like ruin, oh, well, this model's not working anymore because now, they're doing it too. It's not going to ruin that, right? It's a model. I think that's why Adam was cool enough to share it. And you guys, and he gave you guys credit for that as well, and so did I, because I think it's really very cool. But I want you to, if you would talk us through, you're getting clients. Okay. Mm-hmm. How are you closing? Like talk to me about your strategy, and if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to share. So for us, we use a lot of paid marketing. So that's our primary source. We have a decent budget for that. And so most of our are inbound, right? We do one-on-one calls, which can be exhausting when you have 6 calls a day, 7 calls a day. But one of the things that I feel like we've done well is that our calls have nothing to do with what we're selling them. They have everything to do with like that client's individual journey, what they need, what they've experienced, like really digging in to them. Like if you saw our onboard or our sales calls, I probably show them, I like to show them really quick because I like to show them how easy it is. But I spend maybe a minute to 2 minutes on sharing my screen, going through, hey, click here, this is how awesome it is. But that's at the very end. And so the whole conversation leading up to it, it's probably a 30-minute. Sometimes, people like to talk, it might go an hour, but most of the time it's about a 30-minute conversation. Just learning a lot about their business, what they're doing, how they're doing it, what they've seen in the past. Most people have got burned in the past by agencies. So like getting all of that ammunition to go into the pitch side of things. And then we pitch. It's funny because in my belief, no matter what you market on the front end, if you have a call where somebody trusts you and you walk them through the process of how you're going to help them and you actually listen and you care about them, which we do, the pitch is just whatever you pitch them, because we will market a 14-day free trial. And to this day, not one person has ever asked me to do a 14-day trial.
Isn't that funny?
Which is crazy. And I knew this because I used to run a gym and we used to do a similar with Hermosi's model, and we used to do a similar thing. And like we would market a challenge, and then people would come in and they would never ask about the actual ad or how they got there. And so we get to the end, I'm like, look, you have 2 options. You have one option. We're going to start at $497 a month. It's month to month. We don't do contracts. That's just personal preference for me. Or you can do what most clients do, and that's going to be $1197 for 3 months. And I would probably like 65 to 70% of people are going to pick that option. And the reason we do that, and I'll might add some things like, we want you to commit it to this for 3 months. Like we want to see you adopt this and really take it on. And so people are like, yeah, that's a great deal. And so they ended up signing. So we do the traditional like call and like really go through their pain points and that whole place. We don't, we really don't talk much about the software. We do at the very end, and then in onboarding, they can get to that. But in the sale, I just don't see it having that much value.
I used to never show. In fact, let me say this. I used to like show the software a lot, and I looked at my close. I'm like, dude, what? My closing rate is nowhere near what it was. What is going on? And then I started doing it just by phone, like no sharing at all. And my close rate doubled. I'm like, oh, okay, then there's something here. Now today I will do exactly like you, a very short demo. But all it is just to say, hey, a lot of people want to know whether or not they can in fact replace the agency they're working with. And I understand that question. I'll answer that in two ways. One, I taught my 10-year-old my 10-year-old daughter how to do this in less than 30 seconds. I got a video to prove it. And two, I'll just show you right now how I showed her in 30 seconds how it works. You want to see that? Awesome. Click, click, click. That's it. And they're like, oh, really? Is that it? I'm like, yes. And if you really want to see the video of my daughter, I can email it to you. Like, okay, don't worry about it. But you do not want to, you do not want to engage the problem finding part of their brain. There is a survival mechanism within your brain that is always identifying threats. And there's another one that is always identifying aspirations, right? And you want to stay over there on that side of things. Hey, this is what it's going to be like. And you can't go there, to your point. And one of the things that Alex Ramosi has said that I think is probably one of the most genius things that I've heard him say. He says a lot of really smart stuff, but this one really has stuck with me. He goes, if you want to be really good at sales, obsess over your prospect, not your product, right? Yeah. And that's exactly, I mean, if I'm painting with a broad brush, you're saying the conversation is about the prospect because that's who we're there to help.
Yeah, okay, exactly.
At some point in time, we can talk about what the product does, not the features of it, but what it does, meaning what is the outcome that it's going to give them, but only after they've told us the outcome they want it to give them,
Exactly.
And that again kind of dovetails into your other point of where it's like, we don't necessarily sell it the same thing to everyone. We just sell them what they ask for. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest, people way overcomplicate sales. They make it way more difficult. They reacted to an ad that said, get the thing that they want. So that's why they're there. So you already have an advantage. You're already in front of them.
Yeah.
But you usually just trip over yourself because you're like, my thing is better than anything you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Better than the guy you talked to last week. Don't worry. So
I think the only reason one of the big reasons I go into UpHex is I think, or just like show them really quick, is a lot of times people have this like really big fear of Facebook ads and Instagram ads because the 17 agencies that have sold it, and I'm not talking about agencies, just in general, they've been sold so many times on how difficult Facebook and Instagram ads are. And like, you can never run them on your own and you can't, they've already heard this narrative, the 50 other sales calls, because the traditional model, that's kind of how you would pitch, is like, hell, you can't do this on your own. So like, let me do it for you. So they've already have this kind of weird fear of like, I'm not tech savvy. I can't ever do this. I'm like, no, you actually can. And it takes 3 clicks. And like, we've already done the hard work for you. We've created the copy and done the technical side. You just need to click. And I think for them, it's like, I can actually do this. Like that, I think that feels good to them versus what they've heard in the past about that. And then I think 2 is, this isn't every client, so I don't always use this as a point, but there's a lot of clients that are like, hey, like, I want to know what's going out. I trust you, but I do like to see the ads and stuff are going out, because in the past they said that they'll see random ads on social media that they never thought that was going to be running on their page and things like that. And so there's been probably 20% of the people that are like, I just want to be able to see and like be able to choose which ones I want to send out. And so we give them that variation. They get to kind of see what's going on, and then they get to launch it themselves. And so it kind of gives them the power of like, hey, I own my marketing now. Like somebody else doesn't, I do. I think there's a lot of value in that.
Control. I mean, and we're in a very similar niche, you and I, so I can give you an example and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you're working with a traditional agency and they're like, hey, you're running ads for whatever the offer is, right? And then that goes for 3-4 weeks. And the client at the end is like, I went to a conference, or I talked to a friend, or whatever my harebrained reason I want to do this. I want to start another ad. And they're like, okay, well, that's going to take, it's going to take us a week to do it. Then it's going to take this one. Like these agencies throw up all these roadblocks as to why that client needs to continue running the current ad, and it's going to take time to set up the other. And the reason is because agencies, in order to set up a campaign, I think, however many clicks, 70 plus clicks to set up a campaign.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not necessarily that that's a difficult process or terribly time constraining. It does take time. It's that throwing it into the workflow of your daily activities. It's like, oh, geez, we're going to fit this in somewhere. Okay, boom. But when you can have your client just say, oh, click and turn it on. And they're like, wait a minute. If I turn it on, that means I don't ever have to wait.
Yeah.
To turn on
It's a
an ad again. Yeah, I don't ever have to do that. I can just turn it on and it goes. And that's something for me that when I tell it to people, they're like, really? Actually? So that's some good insight. Well, I think it's interesting for me to talk to people like you that are actually in it, doing it. Okay. Now you're in this online biz, couple of years, 2 years, something like that, right?
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who's just starting right now?
I think to just move forward, like create what you know, like you take things you currently know right now and just start moving forward. I think when I actually know exactly how I even started getting into this is I cold messaged probably 200. In the very beginning, I started with in cryotherapy, like cryospace, very small niche. If you want to go for it, go for it. But very small niche. But I would message the owners a video message of like, hey, my name is Trevor. I was very honest. Like, I'm new to this. I've been marketing for a while because I was marketing my gym for 4 or 5 years. But I have this thing that I want to test out. Are you cool with it? And I got 5 of those people to say yes. And I just did it. I wrote ad copy and I started running their ads and I listened to them and I adapted. And over time, we've just gotten better and better and better and better at doing it. But I think a lot of people get so caught up in to build out of high level. Like, your high level does not need to be this crazy machine before you start selling your high level.
Yes.
Like, just whatever is going to get a client a result, stick with that. And you can build these cool things later. And then just move forward into that first and second client. And then 2 is as soon as possible invest in paid ads. And that's a really hard thing to do, I think, because you might have to lose some money. Just like burning through and understanding your niche and understanding the targeting and getting to that place. But as soon as you're able to get the finances to do that, like I think that has taken us from okay to next level is by being able to do that for our team.
I think you're really, so most people are not going to, I'm not going to say not going to want to start out saying, hey, let me give you your first, let me just try you for free. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm learning. So you're getting a great deal. I'm not dumb. I know what I'm doing, but I kind of know what I'm doing, but I, can't go out with a good conscience and say, hey, pay me for stuff I've never done before. So I think if you're getting started, it is not a hard thing to find 5 people to where you can go out and say, hey, I'm going to test slowly. I'm going to learn this slowly and I'll communicate with you. The only thing I ask in return is that when we're done with this and I do give you results, if you could, give me a referral, if you could give me a review, if you could give me a testimonial, so I can then go to the next phase. People don't want to do the phase 1. They don't want to eat the crap.
Yeah. Because you doing something for free for a month and a half, 2 months is not fun. But it is
only a month and a half to 2 months. That's the other thing.
I know. If you think long term, that's nothing. That's literally nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because all those clients actually turned into my first clients because there was this different level of trust there. Like, hey, like, you didn't come at me like some agency or like some random person. Like, you were humble, you were honest. You said that this wasn't you knew what you were talking about, but for this specific thing, you weren't you weren't an expert in it. And so you asked us our feedback, you delivered on our feedback. And so all of those people ended up, that's how I started my agency. So I started with $6,000-7,000 in recurring just because I kind of took the heat for 6 weeks and then got started.
Did you start by yourself or did you start with a partner?
So I started by myself. I was pretty heavy in one space. And then Justin, my partner, he was really heavy in like IV side of things. And we kind of come together and
that was me too. I started out in the ClickFunnels era when, Dan Henry and all those guys were throwing out stuff and the different things. So I started out by myself and building funnels wasn't terribly difficult, but then Facebook ads and integration and Zapier, I'm like, dude, this is not me. Right.
Yeah.
Like let me talk to people and sell. I'm a seller. I like selling. And so I quickly found my partner, Jacob, who totally took that off my plate. And he thinks like an algorithm. He thinks like a computer. And so the other thing is, I think a lot of people go into this, and there are some people that can. I got a buddy, Hervin, who he's kind of like he can do both. I don't think that way. And I think most people have a propensity to be good at one side, but they need a complementing other side. And that would be my other piece of advice. If you be willing to start out for free. That's one. Two, whatever side of the equation you're on, if you're awesome at sales, find the opposite, find the yin to your yang, and find somebody that is competent and fast at doing the building, right? And that loves to do the building, right? Yeah. That will like stay up late being like, I'm building stuff, man. It's up. Like find that person. If they're just kind of good technically, but they're not like excited about it, find another one, right? And with those things, you're destined at some point, you're going to say something, you're going to help somebody, and then you'll be like, oh, boom, that's the thread we pull on. Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's really difficult because I think like for myself is like getting to this point, like it's not easy, right? Like you go through months and you're nervous about bills and you're trying to figure it out, and you finally like keep going. And then like exactly like you said, like we found our thing and we're like, now let's just be the absolute best at this. And like for us, like charging a less amount than an agency doesn't mean we don't outperform the agency. So like we're still building, we're still trying to deliver to our clients. It's not an excuse to like not deliver just because you're charging less. And so I think we've really, the offer itself is amazing. Like we have this amazing software that launches ads, like let's do that. And now it's like we found that is going to anchor people. So now let's just be obsessed with them getting results and yes. and stick to exactly what we're doing. It's boring now, like it's not as creative as it was. But creative wasn't like always being super creative does not make you money at the end of the day. Like creating cool things and high level does not make you money. Like getting out there and listening to your clients and building what they need, what they ask for makes you money.
So there's the world's most famous samurai is a guy named Miyamoto Musashi. Have you ever heard of him?
I'm not.
So he killed like something like 62 people in dual hand-to-hand combat, right? So he's known as like being the awesomest guy. And he wrote a book called The 5 Rings. And I follow a channel on Instagram where they'll post like little different segments of his book and just summarize it and all that kind of stuff. And it's really cool stuff. And one of the things that they talked about recently that I was even just telling my wife about, I'm like, oh, this is so good, was mastery, right? And he talks about mastery in the terms of weapons, okay, like actual weapons. But the summary of the thing is the master does not acquire a lot of weapons. He acquires a mastery of a single weapon, but the amateur will go through their life acquiring all of these different weapons and take them with them as they go, never achieving any level of anything other than being an amateur. And it basically is like you can stay in the shallow water and all you're doing is getting your ankles wet, or you can get in the deep water and learn to swim. And that's the way you become a master. Right.
That's good.
And it is really funny because and you can even relate this. I don't know what some of these chat GPT things are going to do in the future, but I'm not obsessing over any chat GPT. I'm not obsessing over any, all these things to me are weapons that you pick up because you're an amateur, right? You can focus in on the thing that you offer, the thing that you do, and you can get really good at that. And instead of spending the weekend, like seeing all these different ways you can do chat GPT, what if you took the weekend to see what ads do I have that are performing the best and how can I duplicate those and get even better results for the people that use my product and make my product that much better, right? At some point in time, somebody's going to figure out a way to where chat GPT can plug into high level and perform a function. And then at that point in time, you can go bonk and you can plug it in.
Yeah. Let somebody else do it.
Exactly. So anyway, Trevor, you're awesome, dude. I'm excited to have you, obviously here on the channel, UpHex, in the group. Really appreciate you sharing your experience here today. I do want to give you the last word of advice for anybody that is watching this in terms of they want to transition from SMMA to SaaS. What would you say?
Yeah. So for us, for what we have seen, just doubling down and going into this model has been the best thing we've ever done. But I think it took a lot of us cutting off what we had been used to. I'm not saying that's what everyone has to do, but for us, that's what it took to get us to the next level. So I think if you're kind of teetering on the edge, like I firmly do believe this is the best model when it comes to running social media, running paid ads, and combining that with high level. So if you're kind of teetering on the edge, just take that first step, get your first couple of clients, start seeing what it's like to use this, and then keep building from there. Because I think for us, like we're still building and figuring out how to get people the best results without us being hands-on. And but that stuff comes, like make that an issue before you start trying to solve it.
Dude, I love it. Thanks for coming, man. And for anybody watching, we got more videos like this coming. So thanks for watching, and subscribe to the channel, like this video. See you later.